Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center. As you can see by the title and by the thumbnail, today we're going to be breaking down some film on Pat Surtain. So the very first play, man, we got a gotta have a situation. You got Surtain matched up on the outside with DK Metcalf. So pre-snap wise, the Denver Broncos defense was showing a cover 2 look or a cover 4 look with a 2-high safety shell. And on post-snap, one of the safeties rotated down as a robber to take away anything that was crossing, and the other guy stayed at the center field. So obviously, if you looking at the Geno Smith throw, Geno Smith is taking into consideration that middle field safety, because the other safety that dropped down, he's taking across any of the crossing routes. So you lose that aspect with the robber. So you got the safety over the top. He can be a little bit more aggressive playing anything that's vertically down the field. So from a DP's perspective or a corner's perspective, from Surtain's perspective, I would say is that you look at the split with DK Metcalf. He's kind of lined up like kind of right outside of the numbers. So like I said, once again, you kind of judging the split and saying, okay, it's probably trying to be something. He's probably, if he's lining up closer to the line of scrimmage, closer to the offensive line, more times than not, he's trying to create room to be able to do something outwise. And it could be something just as simple as a fade route right here, considering that you got that safety at the middle of the field. So Surtain does a good job at really just being able to stay on top of DK Metcalf. He never really gave him any room, and he kind of tried to funnel him towards the sideline to make that throw a very difficult throw, because obviously Geno Smith knows that he has to deal with the center field safety, and he just does a good job right here at being able to play the ball and play through DK Metcalf's hands. Obviously, in this situation, he wasn't able to get his head back around. So when you're not able to get your head back around as a DB, you want to look at the receiver hands, because the receiver hands is pretty much going to let you know whenever the ball is coming. So he does a good job at tracking the receiver's hands and being able to just punch up through DK Metcalf's hands and knock the ball loose. So you got a red area possession. You got Pat Surtain matched up on the bottom of the screen with number 16 in a one-on-one matchup. So once again, like I said, you kind of just got to analyze the situation. You got to analyze the formation, and you got to analyze the wide receiver splits, especially when it comes to man-to-man coverage. So if you look, you see that the wide receiver is, once again, they're lined up in a much tighter split. Which means that they're closer to the offensive. They're close. I don't know why I keep saying line of scrimmage, but they're closer to the offensive line. So, like I said, you kind of got to ask yourself, why are they lined up closer to the offensive line? That could be for a multitude of reasons. It can be because they're trying to confuse the defense. It can be because they're trying to create some natural pick and roll routes, get defenders to run into each other. It could be because they're trying to cause confusion and get a defender that's not necessarily the best at man-to-man coverage matched up on one of their better receivers. But Surtain just does a good job at understanding that, okay, if he goes inside, right? If he goes inside, my help is inside. Look at the messy look inside. And what I mean by the messy look means that you got a lot of defenders that's inside. So most of the time, quarterbacks are going to try to stay away from throwing in those messy areas, because those can lead to interceptions and pass breakups. So he doesn't bite on the initial move going inside. Let's take another look at it. So right here, he gives him boom, as if he's finna go inside. He doesn't fall for that. He goes inside, bounces back outside. Surtain does a good job at just really staying over the top of him, to where even if he would have been throwing the ball to him, there probably would have been a pass breakup, if not possibly an interception. But right here, the pressure kind of gets to Minshew. He rolls out of the pocket. He kind of just lets the ball get away from him. And Surtain, being that he was in the right position, and he's just able to come up with this pick six. And like I say, man, the good defenders, they can cause turnovers, right? They can get turnovers, especially in a situation where it's in the red area, because now we negate any possibility of points, because when they're in the red area offensive wise, even if we do hold them to a field goal, they're still coming up with points. But if we can get turnovers, we take away any possibility that they have to be able to put points up on the board. And then not only when we're able to create turnovers, when we're able to score off of turnovers, that just makes things a lot much easier on us as a team as well. So I'm going to show you the importance of down and distance. So, a few of the previous clips I was talking about in terms of receivers being lined up with a tighter split closer to the offensive line, that more times than not, it's probably going to be an outbreaking route, right? Which, granted, depending on the down and distance, that could be true. Now, here's a different play from that. So you look at, he's lined up inside the numbers once again, but this time he does not break to the outside. He breaks towards the inside. But keep in mind that it is a single receiver set that he's on other than the running back coming out of the backfield. Now, what Surtain does is Surtain kind of, obviously you see he's an off man, and you see that he's kind of looking at kind of just reading the quarterback's eyes, but then also, pre-snap wise, he's reading the quarterback eyes. Post-snap wise, now you see his eyes go from the quarterback to just reading the tight end, Brock Bowers. Now, he knows one thing, that I don't have to deal with the threat of this guy running past me. Like, let's just be completely honest with you, right? So he's able to play this a little bit more flat-footed than he would have possibly been able to do if it would have been a faster receiver. If it would have been a faster receiver, he probably would have had to kind of get a little depth just because of the threat of the guy being able to run past him. But knowing that the tight end, Brock Bowers, is not going to be able to run past him, he's able to just play this flat-footed, and he just kind of breaks on it as well as with the tight end. As soon as he sees that the tight end is breaking and that's who the quarterback is going to, he does a good job at just breaking on the ball and being able to get his hands in there to deflect the pass. And not only deflect it, but the pass goes up and he's able to make the interception as well. So right here on this play, you gotta have a situation of 4th and 2. So you got Surtain on the bottom screen. So they got a lot going on this play right here with Carolina. And they kind of just got a lot of things, got a lot of pieces moving, trying to cause confusion on the defensive end to try to get this first down. So notice that, for one, if you watch the offensive line moves forward as if it's a run play, opposed to dropping back, opposed to kick stepping and getting back to try to pass protect. So you can tell that this was a design like RPO situation, kind of like a little option throw that they ran. And Surtain just does a good job at sniffing it out. Obviously, the guy that he's on, number 17, goes to block. So that's an indicator that more times than not, that it's probably some type of run option play. So once he identifies that 17 is no longer a threat, guess what? He gets his eyes in the backfield. And once his eyes in the backfield, he realizes exactly that what's going on. You got the quarterback who has a chance to either run it possibly, or has a chance to throw it over to the running back. But if you look, he's pretty much contained by the inside defenders in terms of him being a threat running the ball now. So what's the next biggest threat? Is him pitching it, throwing it like how he does right here. Surtain just does a beautiful job at reading it and being able to get back there and make a tackle on them to prevent them from getting the first down. So right here, you see you got Surtain at the top of the screen matched up on one-on-one against Jerry Jeudy and off man-to-man coverage. So obviously, if you look at Surtain, you're looking at him. He's kind of looking at in the backfield at the quarterback. Now, here's the thing: in off man coverage, a lot of the times, it looked like they were already in a shotgun. So you kind of can figure that it's probably going to be some type of quick passing route. But I know that in off man-to-man coverage, a lot of times you're kind of just trying to watch and see the quarterback steps, because the quarterback steps is pretty much going to let you know exactly what he's doing. If he's taking deep steps in the backfield, it's probably going to be something deep down the field. If he's taking quick steps, then it's probably going to be something short to the intermediate. So he does a good job at kind of just reading, getting the feel for the situation. And honestly, even when you look at Jerry Jeudy's release, he didn't release off the line of scrimmage with any aggression in terms of that is going to be something vertically down the field. He kind of just gave a soft release in a sense and kind of just sat down right there. And Surtain just did a good job at recognizing that and just being able to drive on the ball and come up and get a pass deflection as well. And he timed this so perfect right here. Boom. He timed it as soon as the ball got to Jerry Jeudy, he was able to make the pass deflection. So he didn't get a little bit too eager and get to him well before so he can get a PI call. He did a good job at kind of being patient and allowing the ball to get to Jerry Jeudy and then being able to come in and make get a pass breakup on this play. So on this play right here, you got Surtain at the top of the screen. So this play looked like it's some type of too high safety. It might be some type of version of a cover two. The reason why I say that is because you look at the corners, how their defensive responsibility was the flats. Now the thing that was kind of throwing me off was considering how off they were. Because typically if you're playing a cover two, you're gonna kind of be in a press technique because your whole goal is gonna be to reroute the receivers before you pass them off into whatever zone that they're gonna be going into. But right here it's like Surtain just does a good job at being able to come back down, get to the flats. So I'm assuming that Anthony Richardson thought that he was going to be coming and dropping down to take the receiver who sat down right there in the flat, which he did show initially like he was going to drive on that play. But then it's also, like I say, when it comes to zone, a lot of what you're doing is reading the quarterback's eyes. And that's kind of what he does right here. He shows as if he was going to drive down. And as soon as he released that ball, he just, backpedals back out and gets depth and is able to kind of sit on it and get the interception right right here. So just phenomenal IQ to kind of just be to understand what's going on, and then phenomenal eyes to just get your eyes in the backfield and look at what the quarterback is doing. And you see that once he has his shoulder pointed that way and he's squared up, pretty much getting ready to release the ball, that lets you know exactly where that ball is coming. And Surtain just does a good job at kind of just floating back and being able to get that interception. So right here on this final play, you see that it's a gotta have it, 3rd and 4 for Cincinnati. They run a 2-man concept on the outside on Surtain. They pretty much ran a out and a slant. Now, the whole objective of this was to try to make the defenders, especially if they were in man coverage, to try to make the defenders run into each other or make one of them try to avoid each other to create an opening for the slant, whether it was the slant or the out. And obviously right here, they was able to get that gap right there to be able to get T. Higgins free. Now, granted, Surtain did a phenomenal job at being able to close the distance and make the tackle. But not only was he able to make the tackle, now let's just say, for instance, if he made the tackle and he didn't get the forced fumble, it still would have been for a minimized game where it could have been a much larger game. But he was able to close the distance, and not only this, that he was he able to close the distance, he was able to be able to get his hand in there and jar the ball free and to get the forced fumble. By the way, they were able to recover this as well too. So man, just phenomenal effort and phenomenal recovery speed and just phenomenal playmaking ability. Watching film on him, you kind of understand. I ain't gonna say you kind of, well, you do understand why this guy was defensive player of the year. I mean, from being able to, shut down the opposing team's best receiver, and to be able to make those plays and those gotta have it clutch moments just like this one right here, you understand exactly why he was able to win the defensive player of the year. But man, with that being said, man, if you guys did enjoy this video, do me a big favor, man, smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And when you subscribe, make sure that you click that notification bell on. That way you'll be notified every time I upload, and I'll see y'all in the next video.